We are not a profit-driven institution. We have to cover our costs, but ultimately we are able to provide that long-term patient capital to projects because we are financing ourselves from the capital markets on the back of our AAA rating, and we pass on those benefits to our clients.
Welcome to the 10th anniversary season of Swiss Impact with Banerjees.
This season, we bring you the movers, shakers, and visionaries who are redefining industries and turning investments into real lasting impact.
These are the investors changing the game, driving sustainability, transforming lives, and proving that profit and purpose go hand in hand.
Every investment is a choice to shape the world we leave behind. If you're ready to be part of something greater, to invest in impact, to invest in hope, to invest in change,
this is where your journey begins. Welcome, dear viewers, to the 5th episode of this season. Today, we step into a world that seems increasingly divided, not by borders, but by perception.
Indeed, and before we begin, I must say I can't shake the feeling that many people today are living in an alternate universe.
Even here in Switzerland, where the glaciers are melting before our eyes and the climate is shifting irreversibly, we still find ourselves hypnotized, glued to WhatsApp and social media, knowing full well that these platforms manipulate us. And yet, we surrender to the illusion, choosing to believe in an alternative reality rather than to face the truth.
And is it any wonder then that we aren't surprised when a marketing firm blatantly told us if we paid them enough, they would brand any business as impactful? So truth and impact apparently has a price.
Or that one of yesterday, a former colleague confided to us that the asset management company he works for has forbidden him from even mentioning sustainability and impact to his very long-term clients. His only job? Push financial products, no questions, no ethics, no future, just profit.
And this is in Switzerland, a country with one of the highest literacy rates in the world, a nation known for its financial integrity and foresight. And yet, even here, major financial institutions are following the same path, turning a blind eye to the very future they claim to safeguard.
But in the midst of all this disappointment, one institution still stands strong, the European Investment Bank. It remains committed to real impact, refusing to give in, even as more Europeans get caught up in this changing reality. Today, you will see how European Investment Bank is redefining investment for good. How does the EIB navigate today's global challenges? What investment trends are shaping Europe's future? And how does EIB ensure its investments create real, measurable impact?
And to explore these questions, we are honored today to welcome our guest, Elina Roine, the Deputy Director General at the EIB, or European Investment Bank.
Welcome, Elina. Great to have you today.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
And we feel absolutely delighted of speaking with you again. And you are a truly remarkable leader for us, who is at the forefront of shaping Europe's financial landscape for a sustainable and resilient future. Maybe I will say a few more words about you, Elina, for those who don't know you yet. So you are serving as the Deputy Director General of the Operations Directorate at the European Investment Bank, EIB. And your career has been spanning in Nordea, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, now at EIB. You also played key roles in impact investing, economic stability, and digital transformation. You led the EIB transition to becoming the EU climate bank and continue to drive strategic investment for greener and more resilient Europe.
So
Thank you, Sveta, for these very flattering words. And again,
That's true.
it's a great pleasure for me to have a bit of a discussion about our direction of travel in green finance today.
So congratulations on your recent appointment as Deputy Director General of the Operations Directorate. For those listening you for the first time, can you please tell us more about yourself and your immediate priorities in this new role?
Sure. So who am I? I was thinking, how do I introduce myself? I would say I'm a European with a Finnish passport and with a lot of so-called SISU, S-I-S-U. So you can Google what that means. I had set my mind to pursue a career actually originally in international relations and became a banker rather by accident. But I have to say I would not change anything in my career, career that now spans out over 20 years. As you mentioned, I have made most of my career working in international financial institutions or organizations that are policy driven. And I do continue to be passionate about finance with impact and for betterment of the economy and the society at large. You asked what are my immediate priorities in my current role, and I would maybe mention 4 things. First of all, currently I'm focusing on helping the organization to operationalize our new strategic roadmap. And on top of that roadmap, you can still see the climate, our climate commitment. And we are continuing to fortify EIB's role as the EU climate bank. At the same time, I'm also pushing ahead with the bank's digital transformation. And here I would say that generally, I think we have a dual challenge to digitalize and to decarbonize. Not only in EIB, but also in the European economy and globally. And then I would also want to mention that as a leader, I feel passionate about people. Banking is people business in the end, and I really want to continue building a diverse and highly functioning teams, creating an inclusive working environment where oftentimes very complex problems are solved through collaboration and innovation. So really operationalizing the strategic roadmap, continuing to champion our climate agenda, pushing for digital transformation, and then focusing on inclusive and innovative leadership.
Amazing. Elina, now let's get straight to the heart of all this, because the financial industry is flooded with ESG and impact claims, yet greenwashing is rampant. What sets EIB apart? How do you ensure that your investments deliver measurable impact rather than just good PR?
That's a very, very topical issue you are mentioning here. And I would start by saying that when we started our climate journey and already prior, our climate credentials really rest on a very, very solid and transparent policy framework that allows us appropriately track and report on our efforts and all our social and climate credentials So that's first. So we have a policy framework that is comprehensive, transparent, and allows us to report and track. And then secondly, I would mention that what in a way sets EIB apart from many other financial institutions, and in particular the commercial banks, we are a policy-driven institution, and to this effect, our due diligence is focused not only on assessing the financial merits and bankability of projects and investments that we support, but also the economic and policy dimensions of these investments and technical merits. And as part of the due diligence, we are very much also looking into and assessing the climate, environment, and social aspects related to the projects. We have a methodology in place that allows us to assess and vet and evaluate the additionality and impact that the projects that we finance have, and we also transparently set or assess the outcomes or set the targets for outcomes and impact that these projects and investments should have when they are completed. And we consequently then at completion also evaluate or assess how these outcomes and impacts have been realized. So just to say that policy framework, then at the due diligence phase, the investments are assessed against a methodology that allows us to set the direction of travel for outcomes, and then we also track and report on these outcomes at the project completion. So I think that kind of allows us to ensure that also when it comes to climate and environment, we are in a position to credibly verify, or first of all, credibly choose investments that are delivering real outcomes and impact, and that we are able to then at completion report and verify that these outcomes have been realized.
Okay. And the last time we spoke, you had mentioned that the EIB had pledged 1 trillion euros for climate action by 2030. Are we on track? And if not, what is holding us back?
So just to Ben and Sveta to remind you that indeed when we draw our climate bank roadmap, the playbook, if you will, for our climate transition, the bank set itself 3 operational targets. Firstly, we said that up until 2025, we will increase the share of our climate and environmental sustainability related financing to at least 50% of our annual lending volume. We also pledged to support investment worth of 1 trillion euros over the critical decade. And finally, we said that all our activities shall be Paris aligned or be compatible with the temperature goal and the resilient pathways of the Paris Agreement. And we did a midterm review of our climate bank roadmap in 2023 at the midpoint, if you will, of the implementation. And that confirmed that we are on track. And also last year's performance shows that we are on track of meeting all these three goals. Last year, almost 60% of the EIB group's financing went to green projects. So we are already ahead of time meeting the 50% target. Also, we are in a trajectory of meeting the 1 trillion target you mentioned. And all our operations have to comply with our Paris alignment related policies and framework. So, in summary, we are really on a way of meeting the operational key objectives that we have set ourselves as a EU climate bank.
Wow, that sounds
Wow.
amazing. Congratulations, first of all. You will tell us later how you did that. But my question is, where does the money go? What are EIB's most ambitious sustainability-focused investments right now? Maybe you can share a project that embodies true impact, not just numbers, but real change on the ground. So where did this money flowing? Where is it flowing now, and where was it flowing?
Right. So if we look at the type of green finance we do, as I said last year, almost 60% of our funding went to projects supporting climate action and environmental sustainability, around 45 billion euros worth of EIB investment. And as you might guess, considering the climate challenge, the largest sectors or industries receiving EIB financing are energy. So we are supporting the low carbon energy transition. Clean transport continues also to be an important area of EIB support. We have also been ramping up our support to clean tech and clean and innovation. As you know, without innovation, together with investment, I think we are not able to meet the net zero challenge. So innovation is really, really important for us. And I would also like to mention that we have made good headway in increasing our adaptation and resilience related financing. It's an area that is challenging to finance, but we have actually tripled our adaptation finance since 2021 when we draw ourselves our first adaptation plan. Our target for this until end of this year is 15% adaptation finance of our climate action financing. It's an ambitious target. Last year we were at the 11%. So we have our work to cut out to get to the 15, but we have been making headway, and I'm very proud of what we have achieved there. I would like, you asked about interesting projects or
exactly. I'm waiting for that patiently.
I think for me, I would like to mention actually our support to the energy transition, notably our extraordinary efforts to support the so-called Repower EU in the European Union. We pledged to over 20 until 2027 to support additional 45 billion of or provide additional 45 billion investment financing to energy transition. And again, we are already exceeding sort of our targets so far. And we have been seeing really, really interesting projects. First of all, energy efficiency financing, record year last year, 8.5 billion of energy efficiency financing. Also interesting sort of cross-border projects in Belgium, so-called Princess Elizabeth Island, that is connecting renewable energy to the mainland, with employing also very innovative technologies, integrating energy grids between Belgium and the neighboring countries. And these are projects that I think are really pivotal for the future of European energy security and the low carbon energy transition. And of course, outside the EU as well, as 90% of our financing approximately goes to the European Union, but we are also supporting under Global Gateway and as part of the Team Europe, environment and climate and environmental sustainability projects outside the EU. And there I would maybe mention an interesting and very impactful water-related projects in Jordan that indeed also have contributed to the aforementioned adaptation and resilience that we really it's very difficult to pick up projects that are the most impactful or most interesting, because there are so many spanning out across Europe and globally.
Mm-hmm. But Elina, maybe you can bring it to the ground, especially for entrepreneurs watching us, like when they become eligible for those funds, how big they should be, how much they should ask, making it very practical for entrepreneurs so they don't dream too much, but then like think, okay, maybe now, I'm eligible.
That's a question I get asked quite often. And as you know, there is a lot of debate currently in the EU about how we need to simplify and improve sort of not only availability of financing, but also the accessibility, and demystify and decomplexify access to financial instruments, and if they're available there for green and sustainable investment. And we are trying to also contribute to this endeavor. So just to kind of make that comment. Then in practice, EIB is a wholesale bank still, so the projects and investments that we directly finance tend to be relatively large. But for the larger scale financing, contacting us through various channels. You can check our website that is accessible to everybody, and you can find then guidance from there, who to contact, how to get in touch with us. Of course, you can always call us. You can meet us also on the ground. We have offices in all EU member states, but also outside the Union in many countries in the near neighborhood, sub-Saharan Africa, and globally. So various channels you can use to contact us. And we try to make it easier and easier for people to get in touch. But I think it's also important to mention that we work together very closely with many financial institutions, commercial banks, but also national promotional banks in various markets, as well as fund investors. So you can also access EIB financing or financing supported by the EIB group through these other alternative channels and through our partners.
That's amazing. It feels like you're really trying to make it easy and accessible so people can make this step and approach you. I like that. Maybe I will go to one of your offices, to check it out if it's true.
And I think our current president, Nadia Calvino, is very often emphasizing indeed the concept of one-stop shop, that we are trying to create easier channels for our clients to get access and service from one channel, and also us kind of trying to help our clients and stakeholders not only to access EIB financing, but also find channels to instruments provided by the European Commission and other European institutions that we are partnering with.
Wow. But many large financial institutions hesitate to fund truly innovative or high impact projects because they think they are too risky. How does EIB balance the need for financial stability with the urgency of funding breakthrough solutions?
Right. That's a very good question. And I think, as I mentioned before, we need to invest and we need to innovate, right? And innovation and investments in breakthrough technologies and scaling up clean technologies is often a risky endeavor. And here I think EIB is extremely well placed to build the bridge between public and private and leverage public resources, notably the resources that European Commission puts at our disposal to de-risk some of these investments, take the risks that the private investors may not be willing to take early on, and help these new technologies and business models to be scaled up, and then at the later stage, with our intervention, crowd in private sector capital. Here I would maybe give you, just as an illustration, an example of the European offshore wind sector. We have been accompanying the wind sector from its nascency until today, when the sector can be considered already rather mature. We started with supporting these technologies and the scaling up these technologies early on, taking those risks, the technology risks, implementation risks that the private sector was not at that moment ready to take. Then when the sector matured, we were there still with our financing, that patient risk capital, supporting the financing structures, helping to optimize these structures, crowding in the private sector. And while we are still very much involved in that segment, now the private money is already flowing into the industry, and we are pushing further the boundaries and again investing or helping to scale up those breakthrough technologies in the wind sector, such as floating wind farms.
Yeah.
So we are helping again the sector to evolve and break those new frontiers. So, and we are trying to maybe emulate or do with our support to catalyze similar development. For example, one could talk about green hydrogen, or when we talk about energy storage or innovative investments in grids, other clean technologies. EIB is there in the beginning with its instruments, leveraging on public resource to develop solutions and instruments that would allow de-risking and better risk allocation between the investors, and then in the end, crowding the private capital to support the scale up and industrial transformation.
That's great. Elina, let's talk now about AI, tech, and future of finance, because digital transformation is, of course, reshaping the whole financial sector. Is EIB also leveraging on AI? I'm sure you do, and big data in your investment strategies? And if you do it, how do you do that?
Well, there are two dimensions, of course. What do we do internally? How do we deploy AI in our operations in order to ultimately provide better service to our clients and customers and deliver on our stakeholders' expectations? And then the other side, of course, is that us as an EIB investing in development and deployment of artificial intelligence based solutions. And you are right. We are also exploring and testing AI based solutions when it comes to our own operations for efficiency. We are currently very much looking into how we can deliver solutions to our clients faster and more efficiently. And as part of the digital transformation, AI is featuring quite prominently. As for the second pillar, we are investing or supporting AI developments, both in terms of AI development and deployment, scale up of AI-based technologies, and enabling infrastructure. I think it's important to also not forget that in order to develop and deploy AI, we also need to upscale our digital infrastructure. Making sort of a segue back to the sustainability and climate agenda, I think digital transformation and digitalization really is key enabler for more sustainable and green economy. And there we are supporting investment of deployment of AI solutions in the industry that I think in the future will make huge difference when it comes to not only to productivity, but also when it comes to reducing, or when it comes to sort of decarbonizing hard to abate sectors and industries, and also transforming some of the business models to more low carbon and environmentally sustainable ones.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yes.
And EIB was among one of the first institutions to cut fossil fuel financing. But is that really enough? What more needs to happen for Europe to break free from fossil dependence for good?
Right. So the EIB, indeed, you are, Ben, absolutely right. In 2019, we revised our energy lending policy and committed to gradually move away from supporting energy projects reliant on carbon intensive fuels. When it then comes to what needs to happen more, I would actually say that to make a positive, sort of start with the positive note, I think the energy transition is happening, right? I believe that, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, renewable energy investments, in particular when it comes to electricity production, were more worth last year than investment in fossil fuel-based electricity production. And also when it comes to, I mentioned the innovation, now approximately 30% of is that we need for innovation and for net zero are still at the sort of early stages of development. It is a big number still, but it was only a few years ago. I think 2 years ago, the number was 50%. So we are innovating and we are investing. So the energy transition is accelerating. And I think for Europe, also in the current geopolitical context, in order to have, fortify our energy security, the security of energy supply, we have to continue the energy transformation and the low carbon transition. We need to continue investing in renewable energy, but I think in Europe, and that is also part of our direction of travel when it comes to energy investing. We need to support the whole value chain of the renewable energy industry. That means investment in grids. It's crucial to new technologies such as energy storage or infrastructures such as interconnectors, as well as energy efficiency. and those upstream technologies that will allow us to accelerate the transformation. So in summary, what I'm saying is that the energy transition is accelerating in Europe. It's crucial for European competitiveness, as well as not only for our net zero target, but also for our competitiveness and sustainability and security of our energy systems. But investing, we have to move to more in the whole energy value chain. It's about investing in innovation and energy technologies. It's investing in renewable capacity, and it's also focusing more on financing the upgrading of our grid infrastructure, forgetting the investment in energy efficiency, as energy not used is the cheapest energy.
Yeah, exactly.
Elina, and I have a tough questions for you. You know, there is this famous trade-off, impact and profit. So very honest question. Have there been cases where EIB had to choose between financial returns and long-term impact? And if so, what guided that decision?
Yes. Well, I think EIB is a policy-driven institution. So everything we finance support EU key priorities and our policy priorities, driven or translated from those EU policy goals. Secondly, we are not a profit-driven institution. We have to cover our costs, but ultimately we are able to provide that long-term patient capital to projects because we are financing ourselves from the capital markets on the back of our AAA rating, and we pass on those benefits to our clients. So we are not necessary. We are in a way in a position that we as an institution do not very often have to consider such trade-offs. And ultimately, in the end, as we are policy-driven institution, and while the projects we finance have to be economically and financially sustainable, the ultimate goal or the guiding goal for us is that our projects have to contribute positively to our policy goals, our priorities, and deliver positive outcomes for the economy and society, including not to do significant harm to the environment and our climate goals. And as I said, 60% of our financing are not only not doing significant harm, but are making a significant contribution to climate and environmental goals.
Mm-hmm. And Elina, does EIB also have specific initiatives to support female entrepreneurs or underrepresented communities in business?
Yes, I mean, we are championing diversity, first of all, both internally and externally, in all its forms. These aspects, secondly, are also things that we look at as part of our project due diligence. We have you can search out. We have our environmental and social framework in place that also considers gender-related aspects. And finally, and thirdly, importantly, we are looking at these dimensions when it comes to financing projects, and we are tracking and tracing the positive impacts that our investments have to equality and including gender equality. And we have financial products that specifically target, for example, female entrepreneurs or investments that are are promoted by females. So in summary, internally, as part of our investment strategy, gender equality is an element that we are focused on.
Okay. And one of the criticisms that most of the major banks or many of the major banks is their lack of accountability. So how does EIB ensure that the companies and projects you fund really stay true to their commitments?
Well, as I'm sort of repeating myself again, but first of all, when we
Keep it
invest,
short, then. Say, I
yes,
already said.
yes.
Ben, you didn't listen.
I for the purpose of the audience, I don't want to be repetitive, but again, we really assess these aspects as part of our due diligence. So when we assess the investments that we are supporting, it's not only about financing; it's also about impact and outcomes that we are expecting these investments to result in. And we are at this ex ante, but also ex post. So we are monitoring our projects, we are monitoring our investments, and also in this context, also then assessing in the end whether the impacts and outcomes were delivered that we expected to see. So I think from that perspective, we do monitor, and we also transparently report on our investments and on the usage of our financing. If you look at our voluntary sustainability reporting, it's very rich set of documents that you can actually read from what we have done and what our money has how our money has been put in the use.
Okay. Amazing. Elina, just to round it up, because the time is really running so fast, if you had one message for policymakers, investors, entrepreneurs watching today, what would be your call to action?
My call to action, I was thinking about it, and I remembered a quote that I saw some time ago that said that action without strategy and without a plan might become a nightmare. And on the other hand, a plan without action is kind of a pipe dream. So I would say that, first of all, in today's environment, we also tend to complain. So complaining is not a plan. And while we need a plan and a strategy, we then have to take action. So I'm calling people to remain calm, positive, make that plan, but put the plan into action.
Wow, I love that. That's amazing. We will do it also inside of our company. That's, I think, valid for everyone in impact investing sector as well. Amazing, Elina. Thanks so much for this insightful conversation. And yeah, we are really looking forward to see that you are staying on track also till 2030 and beyond.
We will do our very best, and we are now indeed strategizing for the second half of the critical decade. So please watch the space. A lot of very exciting things are going to happen. So indeed, stay tuned also as far as EIB Group and its climate action is concerned.
Amazing. Thank you, Elina.
Thank you.
So, dear viewers, investment decisions shape the world we live in. The question is, will we let short-term gains dictate our future, or will we demand real change and act for impact? The choice is all in our hands. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you in next episodes.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye-bye. What an inspiring conversation! Impact investing is more than just finance. It's about shaping the world we want to live in.
If this episode sparked new ideas or possibilities for you, don't keep it to yourself. Get involved.
Subscribe for more powerful insights. Follow us on social media and be part of this movement.
Are you an investor making a difference? We'd love to feature your story in our next episode. Reach out and join us.
Let's build a better, more sustainable world, isn't it? Together. See you in the next episode.